Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Anybody that's new, welcome. So today we are going to do a Jenga block bobber. My dad likes fishing. I just think it's a good idea for maybe a Father's Day gift or somebody that really likes fishing. This is just a simple, easy one that we're going to do. And we're going to start off with using tumbling tower, aka Jenga blocks. You can find these in the toy section at Dollar Tree. They also come in a blue box. I'm going to be using Wellbond. I always use the Wellbond when I'm using the blocks. You can find it at Hobby Lobby, Rona, Lowe's, Michael's. I know DT has some wood glue. Some other crafters said that they use, and they said it works fine. I don't suggest using hot glue because it doesn't seal the blocks properly when you glue them together unless you're only gluing a couple pieces on. But I would suggest using wood glue, even Gorilla wood glue. That's my suggestion to you. Just make sure you read the instructions for drying time before you glue them together, and just make sure that the glue seals before you start playing around with the blocks, because sometimes they will fall apart. When you're using blocks, I always find the DT carpenter ruler, L-shaped ruler. You can find it in the hardware section. Works great to keep all your blocks straight, especially because they're not all cut exactly the same. When I go through, I usually pre-glue so that the video is not very long. When I say flat, it just means the blocks are just flat like that. When I say stacked, I mean stacked like that, and then on the side, not flat. Okay, so we are going to start the bottom of the bobber, and we are going to start with 6 blocks flat. Then we're going to move to stacked, and we're going to do 14. You're just going to center it as you go up. The next one is 16 stacked, 18 stacked, and 19 stacked. Now we're going to glue those parts together and even, and then we're going to do the top part of the bobber. I'll explain why later. So going up from, say, that will be another 19 stacked, 18 stacked, 16 stacked, 14 stacked, and 7 flat. So you're going to glue that section together and this section together, but you're not going to glue these two pieces together. Get these glued together, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now that they're dry, I did go ahead and just used a nail file, and just on the corners to here and to here, just on the sides and just the back, I just took the little sharp edges off. I don't know, I like rounding my edges to keep them not so pointy, because sometimes they are super sharp. I did not touch in between here because eventually these will be glued, but we'll do that after. So you can just leave it as this, as is, and not do anything. I'm gonna fill them in. So if you watch my recent videos, I like to use spackle, which is just hole filler from the wall. And I get this one from the hardware store. It's just spackling. Just, it fills holes on the wall, and then you paint over it like you've never never made a hole in the wall. So I'm just going to use that. And I heard DT does sell it. I have never seen it in my store. That's what all those, I think those desserts they make, I've seen them in groups, is with DT spackling, they say. So I'm assuming it's the same kind of idea. And it's super cheap to get a little jar of that. I like to make my Jengas a little bit more round, so we're trying to do a bobber, right? So we want to make it more like a circle, and it's just like, how can I say, basically sculpturing. I would use clay, but I did clay in one of my barns. One of the barns I did, the barn a couple years ago. And eventually I've tried the dollar store kind and I didn't like it. And then it cracks and it shrinks. Excuse me. So all it does, if you've ever buttered a cake or a muffin, and it's just easy afterwards just to file it. Afterwards, I'll show you. It just makes the edges going, and you just keep going down on the side just to fill in the gaps. So I'm just going to push this down here so it doesn't get on my mat. We're just going to do it here and then here, but we're still not gluing this piece together. All right, so I left them overnight, and I always find it's better, especially if you're doing the sides that are a little bit thicker, to dry overnight. Now it is kind of bumpy, as you can see. If anybody's used DT's spackle, let me know what how it is to work with it. I'm just curious. I've never seen it in my store, but I see, like I said, other crafters use it. Now you just get a buffing pad. You could use even a nail board, and you can just file it down until it's nice and smooth, and we'll have a nicer look to it. Just a smoother edge, because sometimes the blocks are not all even, so it does make it a lot prettier. But you don't have to put the spackle on if you don't want to. So the spackle was pink when we put it on, and once it's dry, you can see it doesn't have to be perfect, and you can just keep filing it away till it's nice and smooth. Now that I have them all sanded and filed, and I think it just turned out really well, it's nice and soft on each side. This is, I think it just turned out really good. Now, if you do make a mistake when you do it, you can just reapply the spackle over and let it dry, and then sand again if you have any indents or cracks or anything like that. Now, I'm going to use some Mod Podge, and if you see $1.50, that's what we pay in Canada here. Instead of $1.25, we do pay 25 cents more. I'm going to use the matte one just to seal in the spackle onto the wood. Once I give it just one coat of that, I'm going to paint the top part white and the bottom part red. Now that I finished painting it, we are going to put it together. So the bottom of the bobber is 147 blocks. The reason why I wanted to do it separate is just easier with the lines to do them, as opposed if you did it all at once. But if that's your preference, you can do it as well. Now, I use the Tuscany red from Dollar Tree. It's my favorite red. I like using a lot of my Christmas projects with them. That red, I find the other holiday red is very bright. I just like the color of this one. So we're just going to use the Well Bond and glue it together. Now I wanted to show you, the front now is nice and smooth using the spackle, and I just wanted to show you how bumpy, oh, how did I get that on there? How bumpy and uneven it is, and that's just the way the blocks are made. They're not perfect, but that's why I just like using the spackle, because it just makes it a lot more smoother, and that's why I left the back. I just wanted to show you the difference it is without the spackle, but you don't have to do it if you don't want to use a spackle. So you're just going to glue those together with some Well Bond. Now for the top, we are going to add 12 blocks. We're going to do 4, and they're going to be flat, another 4, and another 4, and we're going to glue those together. Once these do dry, we are going to add it to the top just like this. I'm going to round the top edge here, 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 and here, which would just be around the top edge like that, just with the file. And I will, for the front part, I will add just a little bit of spackle to fill in any of the holes so it's nice and even. And then I'm going to paint it with the Tuscany red. Now that I have it glued together, I'm just going to put, I'm not really, I don't know how to use my Cricut well, so it's still a learning process. I've had it for a couple of years. I just don't have time to figure it all out. But if you don't have a Cricut, you can always just buy stickers. I just said, let's go fishing, and I'm just gonna put them here on there. Once I get the stickers on, I just grabbed a DT base. I wanna put some, well, we'll get to that. Sorry guys, it's been a long day. So I'm just gonna stain this with some dark walnut. You can do whatever color you like. And once that's done, I'm just gonna glue it on there. Now that I painted, excuse me, sorry. Now that I painted the base, I'm not gonna just glue it on yet. I'll put that to the side. So I have the stickers on. You probably see a little bit of glare. A little bit of the glue went through, so I'm just gonna touch that up with some paint off camera. I would only suggest right at the top when you put it together. I could file it down right now. I just wanted a little bit more around, and I should have did that more around on the sides here, but you can always do that or leave as is. Now you can just glue this on the base, add some rocks and call it a day, but I'm just gonna take it a little bit further, a little bit more further. You could just do it like this. You don't need a base or anything. You could just make the bobber. Now, I got this at Dollarama. I just already cut the stem off as I was playing around, waiting for the stain to dry. Dollar Tree does sell these, but they're a little bit smaller. This one was a little bit more expensive, like I said, from Dollarama. I'm just gonna put it flat just to show you. I'm just gonna glue the stick right, and it's not gonna, and it's not centered, and I don't want to put my head under the camera, but I want some green, and I think it's a little bit, that I'm just gonna stick it like that right behind, because I want some green behind it, because I'm gonna add a few things, whether you want to go that far or not, or just want to make the bobber. I'm just gonna hot glue that right on the back of this, and then I'm gonna glue it onto the base. So now on top of the bobber, I wanted to add a rod. I was gonna make one. You could use a wood dowel if you want to do that. I actually have this fishing toy kit from Dollarama from last year, and I used the starfish. I don't remember what I used it on, but I used that already. So I'm just gonna go with this fishing rod, but DT does sell, well, the fishing game is what they call it. I like the anchor better on this rod, but I'm just gonna stick with this one because I already opened the package on that one. Now, I didn't glue it down yet because it's easier to show you this way. Now, I want to stick the rod right on top, glued like that, and just this hanging, because I don't like this, but I'm just going to use it anyways. So I want to paint this black, but you're going to have to figure out how high you want to hang your rod, and I'm going to show you why. So I'm just going to hang it probably about there, on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some painter's tape, and I am just going to, because I don't want to spray paint. Once you spray paint the part of it, this is not going to move. So I'm just going to leave it right where it's at. You can angle it too once you have it on there. So even if it's off a little bit, you can still position your rod either way, up or down, but I'm just going to be happy the way it is like that. I'm just going to pull it a little bit more. And then you're just going to put some painter's tape on it. So I'm going to use some Rust-Oleum, just some satin crayon black on it. You can use DT's paint. If you follow me before, I prefer spray paint if I can on certain items. Just much easier. So when I have a spray board, once I have that, I'm just going to glue it like that right down on my, I just used one of those black boards from DT. I'm just going to glue it like that so I don't get the rope black. And then I'm just going to spray paint this as well as the rod. So I end up painting it. And I'm gonna place it on here just like that. I'm just gonna hot glue it on, but I'm just not gonna do that just yet. I got this from DT. It had 2 cattails on it. I'm gonna show you here. I try to take it as low as I can go. And I didn't like the color of the cattail, so I'm just gonna paint it some burnt umber. And I already did that, so you can see the difference of the brown. I like the darker brown better, so I am gonna paint the second one. And I am just going to put them, that's gonna be hard, I'll have to do it standing up, but I am just gonna put them right behind there because I really wanted some cattails in there. Just thought it was a nice added touch. So before I glue the rod on, I decided to take the little anchor. I think it's like a little worm, what it's supposed to be like. So if this is a gift that, you know, it's gonna be around maybe children and stuff like that, I wouldn't suggest using a lure. That's what I'm gonna do because this gift is for my father for Father's Day. So I did end up taking off the rope off it. I'll keep it because you never know what I'm going to use it for. And then as long as when you use a lure, just make sure there's a little hanging hook like that you can just attach the string. So once I attach it here, it'll just be hanging on the side right there. So I have it gluing on the base right now, and I did glue it a little bit further back of the board. And I'm just going to show you here on the board. Now, on the back, you can see all the vine. I am just going to take a little bit of Spanish moss and just glue it so it just covers it up. You don't have to, but I guess that's just me not wanting to see a little bit of hot glue and stuff like that in the back, and it just makes it a little bit nicer if it does get seen from the back. Now for this part here, I'm gonna use these little driftwood pieces from Dollar Tree, and this one I thought was just kind of nice with the curve and the little extra stick sticking out. I'm just gonna hot glue that right down, just like that. There we go. Now DT has little fairy gardens, and I just thought I'd grab the little pelican and just hot glue them right on there, just for a little look. I have just some coral stuff from the ocean that I had on hand, and I am just gonna hot glue some of that right there. Now this area right here, I'm just gonna paint on some Mod Podge, the matte, and I'm just gonna put some sand down on it. And just a little bit of sand marks here, but I'm gonna glue these first before I do that so I don't get any sand underneath, so that they glue properly on the ground or on the base. Now DT has these little sharks that you can use, and I wanted to put a little shark down here. I'm not going to use this one because I'm collecting them for another project I wanted to do, but I did have this in my stash. It's just one of those, and it's from the dollar store. It's not from DT, it's from Dollarama, but it's one of those grow 600 times the size that it is now. So I'm just going to keep it the way it is with the shark. And once I have the sand, I'm going to put that right on top. I'm going to glue a few, I have some rocks, and I'm just going to glue a couple rocks around. Once I get that all glued on, I will show you the full, what it looks like when it's totally done. All right, so here it is, got it on. I did add some reindeer moss. I think I said Spanish moss earlier. I just added reindeer moss just to stick in, just to hide the corners just a tad. Going down, I did skip on the rocks, and I just added some more reindeer moss. I think it turned out really well. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You can always reach me on my Crafty Shopper page if you ever get stuck on any of my tutorials. Happy crafting, and see you soon.